Guys, let's look at a very important topics that doesn't exist in any book, all right? Let's look at spirits, spiritism and spirituality. Every time I talk about spiritual journeys, people tell me to go deeper. So sometimes there are things, of course, I can't reveal online, but sometimes I take people a little deeper because I know that the information is going to help them solve the problem. You watching this, before I go any further, you see that share button below, click on it and select WhatsApp. The second person that you see on that WhatsApp, send it to the person. So what are spirits? Before we look at spirit, let's look at spirituality. What is spirituality? Spirituality is a person's personal journey to discovering their higher self. Basically discovering where your limits are and extending it. That's spirituality. The process, the journey you took to that point is spirituality. If you go by this definition, you will see that spirituality for everybody is different because the journey they used to get to where they are looking for in their personal life is different. Imagine a husband and wife always quarreling, but the husband is determined to bring peace into the home. Do you understand? There's a journey he has to take personally to find that sweet spot in their conversations where the peace can be spread from. He understands his wife deeper. For instance, because of the cycle of the period of a woman. The body of a woman is aligned to the moon. The moon comes around the earth every 28 to 30 days. That is exactly how many days it takes the body of a woman to flush out blood in the fertilization cycle of a woman. As the moon is in different phases of circling the earth, it affects the behavior of the woman. Women that are overly emotional, there are some 3-4 days in a month where that emotion will be off the roof. So what they do now is to look for what is the cause of the emotion. Women that are overly aggressive by nature, all right, they're aggressive by nature. There are 4-5 days in a month where their aggression will be so high. What they now look for is a possible victim. Why did you wake up this morning so early? Why did you just pass me without greeting? You're very this, that. But if you understand this woman at that deeper level, that her body is aligned to something, you even know when to expect that kind of aggression. You now know that it's not because she hates you. It's just the time of the month. It's shocking. But the personal journey you take to discovering that about your wife is spirituality. Same thing with husband. So women have understood their husband so much that when people need something from the man, they go through the wife. Because people can even see from outside that, look, if you can't approach the governor directly, but you can approach the wife knows how to talk to the husband. And truly, even if it's the worst thing in the sin in the world that you committed, the wife has understood the husband so much that she knows the time of the day to chip in that information, and the man will understand her better. That journey is personal. Same thing with people that have been living single all their life and then they marry. They have to grow into a situation where they're living with somebody in the house. That personal journey is spirituality. There are many ways you can describe spirituality for each person. Now, the mistake many people make is to think that one person's spiritual journey is the same with theirs, and then they try to copy it. Then they forget their own spiritual journey. If I have a spiritual journey of discovering myself as a tech person, which I did, all right? I wasn't born a tech person. I wasn't born a programmer and stuff. If I had that journey and I document it, and you take it and read, and you try to follow exactly my journey, it's not going to work for you like that. You'll be misled because you're forgetting your own personal journey. You can never be greater than me in tech if you follow my exact footprint, without factoring in the fact that you have your own background. You have to adapt it. This is what is happening in most religions. A person will go into some wilderness or some isolated place, some mountain, some river, whatever. And then after staying there for some days, they connect with their inner selves. They understand the world better in their own way. They understand God better. In fact, some will even tell you that some other being came and communicated with them. Fine, no problem. And then they wrote it down. 2,000 years later, millions of people are trying to follow exactly that. Exactly that. Forgetting that this is just one man's spiritual journey. Yes, you can read it. Yes, you can attempt to do some of that. But you have to remember that your own spiritual journey is different because your time is different. The age you're living in is different. The systems of things is different. Do you understand? A lot of things are different. The challenge you are facing as an individual and as a community has changed. It's different. Method of communication, method of transportation, all these things have changed. Do you understand? This is spirituality, a personal journey. What are spirits then? If spirituality is a journey, what then is spirit? Now, the religious way of describing spirits, which I don't agree with, is that spirits are immaterial beings, things that are not material. If something is immaterial, science cannot measure it. There's no scientific equipment to measure it because all scientific equipment are material. But then that also raises the question of, if this thing is immaterial, it means our own bodies cannot measure it too, because our body is material. Now, if you say that our body is not only material, which is how some religions like to paint it, they say our body is not just material, there's another spirit inside, something immaterial. But because science cannot measure it, there's no proof for that. You just have to accept it that way. But the problem I have with accepting things without proof is that once you start, there is no limit, there's no extent you can stop. If you convince me that there's something else living inside me that is also me, that is immaterial, which is my spirit or soul or whatever you may call it, fine, no problem. That means you can also convince me that a spirit elephant is living inside me. Since you don't provide any proof, there's no way I can dispute it. It shock you. You have an elephant inside you. You see now why I don't agree with that definition, but anybody else can agree, especially if you feel it. Some people can feel their spirit or soul, something like that. Like during some religious exercise, you feel it deep inside you. If you feel it, nobody can disprove it from you. Even though you cannot prove it to me that you feel it, but I can't disprove that you don't feel it. You see what I'm saying? But here's a better definition that works for everybody. Spirits are just observable characters, patterns, observable patterns of behavior. Do you understand? Let's say two people were arguing about something, all right? Obviously, they disagree on the matter they are arguing, and somebody grabs a knife and stabs the other. We can say that the spirit of anger entered him and he went for the other guy. You see, because there's an observation of a switch in temperament. We can observe it, that this guy that was just talking turned violent. That act, we can call it spirit. Do you understand what I'm saying? So we can also say that somebody is possessed with a spirit of lust. Anything on that skirt, even though he's married with 7 wives, he's still falling for the 8th girlfriend. Or a woman that is happily married with a rich husband, rich, young, agile, handsome husband, she's all over the place. We can say it's a spirit of lust because we can observe the character. We can say somebody is possessed with a spirit of wisdom because we can observe that normally he will not exhibit that wisdom, but then we can see a switch in character such that he's able to speak wisdom. We can say the spirit of wisdom lives inside this guy. Spirit is an observable character. If these spirits are observable characters, it means we can work with them, right? We can work with them, we can adopt new characters, new spirits. We can dispel old, bad, evil characters, old spirits. You see what I'm saying? Now, in religious circles, what they call this dispelling of character is called exorcism or deliverance. Imagine somebody possessed with the spirit of sickness, spirit of fibroid. Immediately after they remove one fibroid, another one will resume again. They remove it 2 years later, another one will grow again. You see? Continue to the part 2. We can say that somebody is possessed with a spirit of sickness. If that person is always falling sick, it doesn't mean that some immaterial thing is living inside that person causing them sickness. If you follow it that way, you can't prove it. But we can observe that this person is always falling sick. We can say that somebody is possessed with the spirit of speed. Every time you put them in a track, they will run faster than everybody else. They run like the wind. Usain Bolt, they can run. What of spirit of lying? Every time you ask them a question, they lie first before they start thinking, and then they start attempting to change it to the truth. You can observe some of these characters that people wouldn't exhibit normally, but they do. These are spirits. Yeah, they're observable. How do we now dispel? What is deliverance? Since we see that these spirits are different, one thing you can agree with me is that the method of deliverance is going to be different, right? That is, if deliverance is needed. The way you will cast out the spirit of lies from somebody is not the same way you're going to cast out the spirit of stealing or the spirit of lust. Do you understand? Or the spirit of wisdom. You can cast out good spirits too. You get what I'm saying? If you use lie, confuse the wise guy, the guy no wise again. Shock you. Let's look at that. But the mistake many religions make is to use one method of deliverance to approach all different spirits. That's why it doesn't always work. Some of the worst, most spoiled kids on earth are pastors' children. Doesn't mean that the pastor doesn't pray at home, he prays. But he's using one method to try and solve all spiritual issues. You see? Thinking that prayer alone is going to solve it. No. There are spirits you can solve by talking to the person. There are spirits you can solve by sending the person to go and live with their uncle for a month. Let them experience what it means to live with another set of elders. Then they can appreciate the love you have for them at home. If your child gives you too much trouble, send him to their auntie's house. Let them do 1 month there and come back. You know what I'm saying? There are spirits you can cast out with changing the guy's school. This child is somewhere else, is joining bad gang in school. You just withdraw them from school, change them to another school. So that their head will calm down. You have separated them from those friends with bad influence. The spirit is gone. Now they are no longer bad. There are spirits you cast out by locking up the person. I know people who have taken their troublesome son to police station and said, tell police, see, lock this guy up for 4 hours. Make sure they don't hurt him inside the cell. Just lock him for 4 hours. After 4 hours, break him out. The guy will go there and experience what the dungeon of a cell, police jail, looks like. After that, they bring him out. He will calm down. Now he knows that there are consequences. What you just showed him is the possible consequence of what he's doing. Say him to calm down. You get what I'm saying? There are different methods. Some religions will just have one method. There are religions that will have a booklet where they wrote spells that the priest will read or recite, and Bible verses that they will quote to cast out the spirit. There are some crusades you will go, pastor is on the mic using the same method to cast out all sorts of spirits. Spirit of fibroid, spirit of this, spirit of that. If a woman is having fibroid, you don't need this prayer for the person. You take them to hospital, to a medical practitioner. That's how to cast out the spirit of fibroid. They will do scan and find out where the fibroid is. They already have solutions for that. And then they advise the person on nutrition, because some of these things are caused by nutrition. Something the woman is taking is feeding the fibroid. That's why it's growing. It's like a plant. If you water and feed the plant will grow. If you starve it, it will not grow. Is it not true? It's not a thing of prayer. No matter how much prayer you pray, whenever the woman gets home and takes that thing, it has nullified the prayer. The prayer is nullified, the thing will grow back. Do you understand? The way to cast out different spirits or possessions and the way to cast in different ones are different. Like me now, I wasn't always a speaker. I heard that a speaker was coming to school. Then I was like 17, 100 level or something. So a speaker was coming to school. I saw his poster everywhere. I said, I'm not going to miss this. In the middle of lecture, around 12 p.m., I left my class and went to the hall where the speaker was speaking. I was sitting somewhere close to the front, and this guy was speaking. Number one, there were about 500 to 2,000 people in the hall. There was no microphone. This guy was in the front, and he was talking so loud that the people at the back could hear him very clearly. The whole hall was quiet. His voice was 10, 20 times louder than the voice of everybody there. I was tapping into the grace. I was tapping into the grace. Talked and talked until he came to where I was sitting and placed his hand on my shoulder like this. I was sitting by the side. So he was making an example. He dropped his hand. I just felt goosebumps over me. As I left that hall, I knew that something has changed in my body. You understand? I witnessed something that showed me a different aspect of life. I knew immediately that this is how to talk on stage. This is how to inspire people. This is how to structure your words. And if you're talking, try and touch one person. It shock you. It shock you. Do you understand? So I could say that from that day I was possessed with the spirit of speaking. So that event exposed me to that spirit of public speaking. Now imagine that it was a bad event, all right? And the speaker there was advertising some immoral nudist act. I would have been possessed by the same spirit. You understand? I will go around all my life performing acts that I didn't know where it entered from. Environment can cultivate different characters around the person. That is a spirit. So they tell you, look, do you know that a child, scientists have done experiments and confirmed for sure that a child will never walk if they don't see any adult walking. Do you understand? Hundreds of years ago, they have done experiments. They've taken children to castles where the child is locked with their father and mother, and the father and mother are deaf and dumb. You know, father and mother that cannot hear and talk. And they give birth to a child. and they leave the child there for 3 to 5 years. When they go to pick back the child, they realize that the child cannot talk and is hard of hearing. Why? Because they never saw their parents talking, so then they don't develop the ability to talk. Think about it. A child cannot walk. The reason your child is attempting to walk, when your child is learning to walk, is because they see you walking, period. Now imagine that your child sees you making money. Shock you. Some parents like to hide their source of income from their child. You don't do that. Take your child to the office. Let them see how father, papa is sitting and addressing customers and stuff. Keep the child and let them see it. It does magic. Do you understand? Of all the living things on earth, human children are the offsprings born with the least knowledge. The only thing a human child knows how to do is to cry and suck breast, period. And shit. Shit everywhere. That's all. But all other living things know way more when they are born. For instance, if they give birth to a goat today, the goat is walking. True or false? If a giraffe gives birth now, within 20 minutes, the child of the giraffe is already running. Lizard's egg will hatch today and can run. Snake egg will hatch today and can bite and kill a human being. A snake that is just hatching from the egg, if it bites you, it has enough venom to kill you. It's only human beings that are born with no knowledge. Why did nature make it that way? So that our brain can learn anything. It's like when you empty a flash drive, so that anything can be filled in there. Most of the behavior you have now is because your parents had exactly that behavior. If you're struggling with finances, I can vouch with my life that your parents struggled with finances. True or false? Most people can't even beat their father's level of financial wealth. It doesn't matter which country you are in. If your father built one house, most people can't build more than one house in their lifetime. Even if they travel to Canada, walk. At the end of the day, they manage to get one house, which is exactly what their father did in the village. It shock you. You grew up in a very chaotic environment where people and neighbors are always quarreling. The person will carry that quarrel. You'll see that anywhere you go in life, you're always trying to recreate that and negative atmosphere environment. That's the only environment you feel comfortable. If you have kids today, expose them to things you want them to be like. Let them see you doing things. Do you understand? Sometimes you owe people and they come to your house to curse at you and you handle the situation. Your children need to witness that. This is spirituality. It's your child's journey to discovering themselves. Expose them to a lot of things. This is how you are trying to transfer the spirit of wisdom, financial wisdom, relationship wisdom, and so on, into the child. You want the child to grow with it. Spirits are not some immaterial, otherworldly things. They are observable character. And that tells you that if somebody exhibits an action once, and you can tell that this is a spirit of this, that means they're going to repeat it. Let's say you work with a mechanic and the mechanic lies to you about the cost of an item, and you find out. I'm telling you for sure, they are probably lying about a whole lot of other things, and they will keep lying about those things with you. Do you understand? Sometimes you're with somebody you are married to, and you find out that they cheated. And they tell you it's a one-time affair. If they are exhibiting the spirit of cheating, if you can see other signs of cheating, be rest assured that they have been doing it a whole lot. That's the whole concept of spirit. It doesn't have to be some immeasurable, immaterial stuff. Spirits are real in that respect. They are observable. They are controllable. You can dispel them and you can imbibe them. Do you understand? As I am now, I'm looking for who has the spirit of a billion naira. You have a billionaire spirit, you know what I'm saying? I have a billionaire spirit. Somebody shake Dangote. They were at an event and random guy Dangote just shake the guy. My guy went and molded his hand like this and put in his desk. Every morning he wakes up, he looks at it and remembers he still has to hustle for money, you know what I'm saying? It's a spirit. And you're watching some of my videos and communicating a certain energy to you. The energy to wake up and go after your dreams. I want to come back in a year and get testimonies. Like I got one yesterday. Somebody was telling me that I've changed his life. And he gave me some evidence and proof where he was before and where he is now. I want to see more of that.